The United States government has conducted various scientific tests of one sort of another since day one of its existence. There's no denying that fact. If you have a new rifle that you'd like to deploy to troops in the field, you have to ensure it's not going to blow up in their faces while they're out there defending your country. Right? The same thing can be said for a myriad of other pieces of equipment utilized by the government. Everything from a serving ladle in a chow hall to a folding entrenchment tool to dig a foxhole with. It has to be safe enough to use by every sort of soldier you have in your arsenal. And that safety is proven through testing. There are massive testing facilities that are run by our government that the average citizen is not aware of, and chances are they've never even heard of it. Civilian versions of these types of facilities are run by outfits like Underwriters, Laboratories, and even Sunset Magazine, who has a good-sized testing facility located at their publishing facility in Menlo Park, California. Recently, we honored our nation's 250th birthday, and some of the most spectacular fireworks displays were unleashed on the nighttime sky. Many of them across the country were of the traditional type of colorful exploding munitions, depicting the rocket's red glare from the national anthem. And with these types of displays, safety is of the utmost concern. But several displays around the country were not created from exploding munitions. They were created with precision-guided drones equipped with multiple LED lights. These drones are controlled by ground crews, and very precise coordinates must be input into specialized computer systems to control their movements in the sky and the manner with which the lights emit color and light to the crowds below. Other examples of coordinated drone operations are fairly well known, like the highly publicized Jersey drones that conquered the airwaves some time ago. And let's face it, folks, punk rock bands across the country missed a great opportunity to have a great name for their band. Personally, I'd go see the Jersey Drones in a dimly lit, smoke-filled bar any day. And now, with the advent and proliferation of AI or artificial intelligence, for those that may not be aware of it, all kinds of tests can be performed with no real purposed harm to human test subjects. Not that harm to other humans is some sort of off-limits warning sign to the government. They've been involved in programs like MK Ultra that studied mind control through the administration of LSD to test subjects. Some had no idea they were being dosed at all. The government had on their staff great Americans like Dr. Jolly West, who is reputed to have been the psychologist responsible for the creation of personalities like Whitey Bulger, Charles Manson, and others we may never know about. Writer Tom O'Neill published a great book on this subject. Dr. West visited Jack Ruby while he was in jail for the murder of Lee Harvey Oswald, and 2 days later, doctors reported he was completely insane, whereas previously there was no mention of his deteriorated mental capacity. He never made it to his second trial because he died of a very severe form of cancer after having received injections by Dr. Jolly West. Stanford University conducted a long-term study of incarcerated individuals and guards to determine how those roles may play a part in the way a person acts. The long and short of it is that the guards became power-hungry tyrants, much like most of the elected politicians and corrupt law enforcement officers we have today. The subjects in this study, both prisoners and guards, suffered long-term mental damage as a result of being a part of that Stanford prison study. So, yes, our government will place its citizens in danger in a myriad of ways to further research or to the false premise of the betterment of mankind. Now, what we have discovered is that the government is conducting several studies and administering tests using AI-programmed drones to determine how communities of differing political or religious outlooks might interact with one another. Say, for example, one group of people held certain religious beliefs regarding a child of God that was created through immaculate conception, died for the sins of others, and promised everlasting peace in the afterlife in heaven. Whereas another group of people who follow an individual who got drunk from cheap wine and passed out on a rock only to awaken to a loud voice telling him the rules of how one must conduct oneself in life. These rules include aspects like the killing of others who do not agree with your outlook on life or the wanton rape of women who wear clothes you find too revealing. How might these two groups of people interact or even coexist? With AI programming, drones can become the subjects in question, and limits like social boundaries or property boundaries could be examined. Back in school, we all learned through science that two objects can't occupy the same space at the same time. This same kind of universal rule can be examined in real time through the specific logistical programming of the drones. With AI, they have the ability to learn and to determine various outcomes to a wide array of situations. Most groups like to be recognized and will many times create a symbol or a logo to distinguish themselves from others. Christians have utilized a cross, whereas those of the Jewish faith have a six-pointed star, and those of the Muslim faith have a crescent moon and a star. and each of these groups have different laws associated within their branch of faith. And groups with differing concepts associated with those laws have even broken off from a main group and started a group of their own, such as Lutherans or Baptists. With careful programming, it is proposed that it can be determined how different groups would interact with each other. The dropping of the borders around the world and the massive influx of Islamic fundamentalists into cultures that previously had no contact can be studied to see how things just might turn out if these two groups were placed in the same playpen together. Simple non-scientific observation would lead one to speculate that things would not go smoothly between these two cultures. And in places like the UK and all across Europe, this very scenario has played out before the eyes of the world with woeful results. Many observers have noted that it is a good thing that the UK doesn't have the Second Amendment, because if they did, the streets would be running red with the blood of the opposing forces. Can this sort of diverse interaction be depicted and studied by the government using programmed drones as the replacements for individuals? Well, they have previously paid people to stare at goats to determine the outcome of a war, so pretty much anything is in fact possible when government officials get to spending taxpayers' money. What is not known at this time is if any of this will have any sort of positive impact on the world at large. The United States has always honored itself as the great melting pot of the world, but even with all of that, it has suffered severe backlash over the insane policies administered by the previous administration. Individual states has proposed policies and even passed laws that make it illegal to expose fraud perpetrated by individuals that are immigrants from other countries. I am a descendant of immigrant parents that came to this country without 2 nickels to rub together, but through hard work and determination, they succeeded in creating a great life for me and my siblings. There were no massive government handouts, no loopholes in child care programs and senior health care that allowed criminals to steal millions of dollars from the pockets of hard-working Americans. It is my fervent hope that the hand guiding the ship is a steady one and we make it through this current storm unscathed. However, it is entirely possible that we just might continue to do as we have done in the past and stare at goats.